Hi, I'm Thomas Power, one of the performance coaches for Canoe Wales. In this video we're going to look at how to optimise your physical conditioning for paddle sports. As in many occasions it actually may be a physical limitation that's holding you back, not your technical ability. So in this video, if you're looking to improve any aspects of your physical condition or just to further your understanding, I've identified three main areas that I think are particularly important for physical conditioning. The first being your posture and flexibility. Secondly, transference of force and a stable platform, and finally, force generation. So, with our good posture and flexibility, it's really important when we're in our boat is to actually have a slight forward position when we sat there, but we don't want to sit forward and bend our back. You want to sort of tilt at the hips, keeping a nice neutral spine, so you're not sort of arching over, you're sort of sat up nice and straight with a slight angle at the hips. Nothing major, like leaning all the way forward, but just a slight bend at the hips. Also really important is keeping our head up, looking where we're going, and then good rotation when we're paddling. A really good thing to link all them together that I got told was actually pretend you just want to medal and you want to show it off. So naturally, it puts you into a lot of them good habits and them good posture. So they're really important for having good posture as them things above. But actually, how do I get into that good posture? So you think if we're lucky and spend a lot of time in the water, you might only actually spend 5% in the water. The rest of the time, what we're doing. If you have very poor posture the rest of the time, so say when you're watching TV, you sit there slumping down or playing on video games with rounded shoulders, when you get into the boat, you can't expect all of a sudden to have good posture. Posture is developed from having good habits all the time. So actually, when you're around the house or you're watching TV, try and sit up in that nice position, shoulders back, how you'd want to sit in the boat. If you actually more time you sit in that good neutral posture, the more likely when you get in your boat it'll just feel natural and come as almost second nature. One of the other things that limit our posture in a boat is our flexibility. That can either be caused by either lack of flexibility or overdevelopment of certain muscles. So two of the main areas that limit our flexibility and posture in a boat is tight hamstrings. That's really important to have good flexible hamstrings, because if our hamstrings are too tight, it'll actually stop us getting that good sort of tilt at the hips, because the hamstrings will play out. No matter how hard you try to sit forward, if your hamstrings are too tight, it'll keep pulling you back into a bad posture. Secondly is the rotational flexibility, because lots of paddle, lots of sweeps, barruders, reverses, forward strokes, all requires a good bit of rotation in it. So if we're lacking any rotational flexibility when we're paddling, that will limit our stroke length and will limit our range of movement, which is really important. So actually might actually lack some of the efficiency that we could get in our paddle strokes. So good posture is really important when we're forward paddling, but it's not just limited to forward paddling. We should try and keep the good posture when we're doing all our strokes, so when we're doing sweeps, reverses. A lot of people think that you should lay back in certain strokes. That's not actually true. We should always try and keep that nice forward position most of the time when we're paddling. So if we're looking to improve our flexibility, our hamstring length and rotation, there's lots of different stretches we can do. If you go into Google and search hamstring strength or rotation stretch, there'll be lots out there, lots of Pilates or yoga. There's tons of exercises you can do to help improve your flexibility. But if someone asked me you had to pick one exercise to do that would help me with my flexibility from paddling to save yourself some time, this is probably the one I would personally pick. So what I would say is really important is we stand in a nice straight position. This could be used at home anytime or as a warm-up to go paddling. It's really easy to do. So we sort of lean forward. So we're trying to, from some of the good posture, so we're trying to keep our back nice and straight. We're not trying to bend, and we're bending over. When you're doing this, you should feel a nice stretch in the back of your hamstring. So we're automatically getting that hamstring stretch, which is good. So once you're here, to make it even better, what we do is we aim to rotate and touch our toe with the opposite arm. So actually what this is doing is this is actually putting a little bit more of a stretch on our hamstrings, but also putting a little bit of a rotational stretch in there as well. So it's actually almost like a double winner. So we're getting two stretches for the price of one. So that was some land-based stretches we can do, but there's also plenty of stretches that we can actually do in our boat as well. So the second point we had was having good force transfer and a stable platform. So in paddling, naturally we're trying to move our boat and we actually use our paddles to move forward. So any force that applies through a paddle to move the boat has to go through our core. So it's really important that we have a very good core stability. Because I said if the core is very weak, so imagine that someone's got a core for jelly, and they do a really powerful stroke, the boat's not really going to move a lot because all that force they've applied, they've done a really good powerful stroke, but any force that sort of they've got a jelly core would be lost in the boat, and what the actual movement of the boat would be lacking. But then if you actually picture someone with a steel core, like solid girders, any force they're placed on their paddle stroke will transfer directly into the boat. So having that good core stability in a stable platform is essential to be able to actually perform any stroke efficiently. So whether it's forward strokes, sweep strokes, reverse strokes, actually be able to transfer that force from the paddle into the boat is really important because that's the only way the boat's going to move. So there was lots of core exercises that would help improve core, but there's two that I think are very important for paddling. First one being windmills. Windmills are very important, I believe, is because they're very good for actual core rotational strength, which is something that we don't generally get from normal sit-ups, but it's particularly important in paddle sports because, like I said, when we try and do any forward strokes, we want a little bit of rotation, so that's why windmills are so good. The other one being L-sits are particularly good because they actually help keep your legs up, which is the same position which you're paddling, which actually give you good sort of bow control of your boat, which is also important, especially if you sort of sea kayaking in waves or surfing or playboating or white water paddling. Actually having control of your bow is extremely important in paddling. So sit-ups, obviously really important for our core, but actually our core isn't just made up of sit-ups. Also, muscles always work in pairs, so we've got our stomach muscles, but we've also got our back muscles as well, which are really important, and they're actually commonly sort of neglected in terms of people think, oh, I'm going to do some core, I'll do some sit-ups, but a lot of people neglect back exercises, which can actually cause a lot of back issues, especially in paddling, lower back problems. So it's really important to actually do back exercises to keep our back nice and strong. So sort of back extensions are really important, where you sort of hang off a chair or a bench and lift yourself up, or Supermans, which are really easy, where you just lie on all fours on the floor and lift your upper arms and legs together. So as well as doing core exercises on land, there's also a few different stroke exercises we can do in the water to help develop our core. These are really good fun, some of them, and other ones will just help improve some of our technical aspects of paddling as well. Third point was force generation. So like we said in the second point, it's really important to transfer force into our boat from our paddle. But in the first place, we have to generate some force. So if we don't actually put any force into the blades, we're not going to go anywhere. Really important part of actually being a good water paddler or any sort of paddler is having a good upper body strength. Just general sort of conditioning, sort of like whether you do a bit of gym or some circuits, it's really important to have good natural body upper strength. Because like I said, without being able to put power into the paddle, so when we actually pull our blade, if we're not actually pulling very hard, we haven't got anything to actually sort of propel the boat. So that's really important. Another point with this that people might not think about is actually paddle choice is essential as well. I don't know how many times I've seen in the river like big strong guys and the paddle were basically lollipops that are about 180 centimetre long paddle. So it's really important to actually pick the right blade and paddle size for yourself. So if you're a young lad and just starting off, you might actually want quite a short paddle with a small blade, because if you have a really big paddle you won't be able to pull it, and vice versa. If you're an older, more experienced paddle who's really strong and you're still paddling with them 180 playboating blades that you bought when you started, that the wereness and have worn down to basically nothing, you might want to upgrade to a slightly bigger paddle so you can actually pull some water. So that's a really important choice. And then the last thing I would say that's really important is a bit of strength and endurance. So people think, oh, it's really important to get strong, but that's good. So being strong is very good, but if I can actually only pull very hard for say 30 seconds, and then I'm on an all-day river trip, that 30 seconds ain't going to get me very long. So that strength and endurance is really important. So doing lots of circuits can help improve that. Or what more important is get out and go paddling lots, because obviously the more you paddling, the more volume you do of paddling, that will also naturally help improve your strength and endurance too. So in conclusion, what we were trying to say is, like I said, if you want to get better at paddling, it's very easy to look how we can get better technically. And when you go on courses, or whether you're at club sessions, a lot of people try and give lots of technical advice, which is obviously really good because you want to get technically as good as you can. But I do think sometimes the physical aspect is missing or not as made as important as it should be, because sometimes we might be technically perfect, but if you just ain't got that range of movement to rotate enough, you might not actually be able to do the correct technique. And people say, oh, well, you need to rotate more. But if you're not flexible to rotate more, you won't possibly be able to. Or sit forward in your boat, if your hamstrings are too tight, you won't be able to. So hopefully some of the stuff we went through in the video, looking at like good posture and flexibility, looking at being able to transfer that force and then generate that force, hopefully actually going through this video will actually give you some hints and pointers that you can take away. And when you get back on the water next time, you can actually use some of this and put it into practice and hopefully improve your paddling.